Today I want to go back to when the Straw Hats first entered the Grand Line. This is when the world of One Piece truly opened up, I mean literally, and I want to go through from the Reverse Mountain arc to when they first entered all the way to the end of the Alabasta arc. I've compiled all the episodes together, edited them down, added some visuals of all my initial reactions and opinions, and I'll come back every arc or every couple arcs and give my extra opinion on sort of what's going on and my thoughts on them nowadays, now some time has passed. For now, let's start with the Reverse Mountain arc, probably all the way through to Little Garden. So let's do it. So Luffy's crew is finally entering the Grand Line. Just as they're about to actually get into Grand Line itself, they encountered this ginormous whale. And when I mean ginormous, I mean this thing is about the size of a planet. Well, this episode of One Piece was absolutely heartbreaking, and unfortunately Laboon was left behind. And the yell that Laboon lets out, the roar basically, is heartbreaking. I hope that Luffy keeps his promise. I have faith that he will, but if Luffy doesn't come back for Laboon as well, I'll be heartbroken. But I just love the way that Luffy handled this situation. It's so indicative of his character. Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates might be cooked, boys and girls, because they are now being targeted by the leader of the Baroque Works. As we learned in this episode, Crocodile is his name, and he's one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Why has he chosen to target Alabasta specifically? We don't really know that yet, but maybe it's because of the fact that it was a peaceful nation, so it could have been easier to manipulate certain people. The 100-year-long battle between the giants Broggy and Dory has just ended in probably the worst way possible. In order to collect this 200 million berry bounty, Mr. 3 and the Baroque Works have completely undermined and just taken away all meaning from this 100-year-long battle between these two. Crocodile tells Sanji that they need to head to Alabasta now, Mr. Zero and Miss Golden Week, as the most important operation is about to begin. These first 3 arcs after the Straw Hats finally enter the Grand Line have some really great moments, some really great characters. What stands out to me personally is Laboon, of course, especially now after watching Thriller Bark and his connection to Brook. But even the first time I saw Laboon and his story about the crew leaving him hitting his head against the mountain, absolutely broke my heart. But I love his little interaction that he has with Luffy and Luffy promising to return. I thought that was beautiful, and I still think that's absolutely beautiful. I remember tearing up first watching that. The story with Vivi, of course, with Alabasta, how that all came about, her whole secret mission to sort of overthrow Crocodile, not overthrow him, but get rid of him pretty much, in the name of a country, I think was fantastic. That was set up a little bit in these first 3 arcs. And then of course you have Dory and Broggy, who are still great. Their laughs always crack me up, and they're a whole 100-year battle story feud. I thought was really well done as well. So these first 3 arcs, I think, again, had some great moments, but I didn't know what was to come when we got to Drum Island. So of course we know we are here for Nami. We're here to find a doctor for Nami, as she is extremely sick and on the verge of death, essentially. And that's the reason that they've arrived on this island, to find her a doctor. But it turns out there's one doctor on this island, and it happens to be a witch doctor. I feel absolutely horrible for Chopper, man. After watching this episode, we learned a little bit more about the blue-nosed reindeer, aka Dr. Koreha's assistant. His upbringing was terrible. He was ostracized from his family from the get-go just because he looked different. Literally, Chopper didn't fit in anywhere. He didn't fit in with his reindeer family. He didn't fit in with humans. There was nobody with him. Is it too early to say that Tony Chopper might be my new favorite character? Seeing everything that this poor reindeer has been through in his life is absolutely heartbreaking. Like, it is tragic what he has had to go through just because he's slightly different. Seeing his relationship with Dr. Hiruluk in this episode nearly brought me to tears, man. And I'm so insanely invested in Chopper as a character now. Everything that this poor little reindeer has been through, like him trying to get that mushroom in order to save Hiruluk. Chopper misinterpreted that, and Hiruluk ate it anyway, I think as a way to sort of encourage Chopper, because he was going to die regardless, and it was almost his way of saying, you know, even though he is going to die, he's going to be a great doctor one day. And what he did for him was so beautiful and genuine. Hiruluk wanted to, you know, eat the mushroom anyway, just to show how much he appreciates Chopper and loves him. And oh man, it's such a beautiful moment, but so insanely tragic at the same time. Wapol has returned to his kingdom and his castle, which he believes is his, because dude is so insanely entitled. That was on full display in this episode. He's seeing him be like pushed back against by Luffy and Chopper and everybody, Dr. Koreha
obviously it's so good to see them fighting back against such a tyrannical, cowardly piece of shit like him. I enjoyed watching every single second of this episode. Seeing Wapol finally get what was coming to him after all of these years. He probably deserved even more punishment than he got, to be honest. But seeing his kingdom crumble in front of him, Luffy punched him literally up into the ceiling, into the top of the castle, and Wapol is staring right at Dr. Hiriluk's flag. You know, the one man that stood up against him, had the courage to fight back against this corrupt system that Wapol put in place. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the episode that made me cry.
Fucking hell.
Oda is a genius storyteller. This whole story between Dr. Hiriluk and Chopper has been my absolute favourite of One Piece so far, or maybe any anime. This little story that's taken place over the last, this arc, oh man, just literally perfection.
I don't think this arc gets talked about enough. The Drum Kingdom arc is genuinely fantastic. It introduces one of my absolute favourite Straw Hats, and that is Chopper. Even to this day, he's one of my favourites, probably top 2, I don't know. But either way, he is absolutely brilliant, and his story with Dr. Hiriluk and Dr. Koreha, and him being accepted by these people after being absolutely treated cruelly his whole life. He's a beautiful character. He has such a lovely heart. And yeah, his whole story with Dr. Hiriluk is so fantastically written and so tear-jerking. This is the first episode, or the first arc, I guess, that really made me bawl. Like, I was in bits watching what happened to Dr. Hiriluk, and then Chopper seeing the cherry blossom falling. There were so many fantastic moments in this arc, and I genuinely love it. It's one of my absolute favourite arcs in earlier One Piece. But yeah, and then Drum Island happened. And then, fucking hell, Alabasta.
Well, this was absolute carnage. We got a massive revelation in this episode, and that is the fact that Luffy has a big brother by the name of Portgas D. Ace. You know, the guy that said he would wait for him in Alabasta. Yeah, he's his big brother. I mean, I thought he would be related somehow, because obviously he said he knew Luffy and all that sort of stuff, and it just sort of made sense with the way he was talking about him, sort of like saying he'd know who he was if they talked. So I thought they'd be related somehow. But yeah, Luffy has a big brother, and he seems great. Ace might be one of the coolest characters so far. This guy is actually just awesome. I love the dynamic between Luffy and Ace. They have this very distinct big brother, little brother competitive relationship. You know, Ace is a member of the Whitebeard Pirates. He's the commander of their 2nd division. And seeing what he did in this episode, you know, destroying those 5 boats like it was nothing, and competing with Smoker and all that sort of stuff, he's obviously extremely powerful. The puzzle pieces are really starting to fit together now as to why Alabasta is in the terrible state that it's currently in, and the influence that Crocodile has had on the country itself. Ace has now departed from the Straw Hat Pirates, leaving Luffy a little bit of paper that's completely blank, but he says it's going to lead them to each other one day, and the next time they see each other, they will be top-ranking pirates, which, I mean, is just super exciting. I wonder what this piece of paper is. Obviously, it means something. We'll get to learn eventually. It could be a long time away, but we will. And the thought of them both being top pirates the next time they see each other is also super exciting. But Ace is a really great character. I can't wait to hopefully see him again one day. I'm sure we will. This is the first time we've seen him just talk, basically, for an extended period of time with anybody that isn't Miss All Sunday. And the dude's so intense. He's terrifying. The way he speaks and just his demeanor and the way he looks, he's just a really intimidating dude. He's not somebody you would want to piss off. Do you know what I mean? We sort of get a glimpse into Crocodile's powers, as you know, we know we've seen him before use that tornado when he was fighting off them pirates, but he has something called the sand fruit, and it looks like his body is literally made of sand. He looks invincible to me. You know, Vivi literally takes his head off, it looks like, and it just turns into sand, and then he gets behind her and is like, yeah, it's scary. The dude's very I think the Straw Hats haven't been in this much of a compromised position before. Operation Utopia has officially begun, and if there were just slight embers of civil war happening before this, then this plan has set the entire country on fire. This whole thing was planned to a T by Crocodile, and it's actually insane, even to the point where when the Baroque Works landed their ship on top of the city and completely destroyed it, it was an armory ship full of weapons, clearly designed for the rebel army to have even more firepower in order to fight back against the kingdom. Crocodile's entire plan is to make the country destroy itself from the inside out, and it's just so sadistic. The fact that Crocodile's been the one that's been causing these sandstorms, just, I don't know, bro. It hit a new level to me of wow, this guy is he's awful. But out of everything, I think that really touched a nerve with Luffy. Like, he really wants to kill Crocodile at this point. And Crocodile, again, he's just laughing at the situation. He's put Vivi in this horrible place where he's basically said, you can either save your friends with this key, or you can go and try and save the million citizens of Alabasta. Like, what are you going to do? And of course, like, in Vivi's position, her being who she is, trying to make that decision is nearly impossible. Sanji just got about 50 times cooler in this episode. He's already a cool character, but the fact he managed to free the Straw Hat Pirates, and not only that, he managed to trick and taunt Crocodile, I thought was just amazing. What the fuck? This episode was a setup, like, fully. Luffy versus Crocodile, we finally got the fight, and it did not go how I expected it to go at all. The show has set me up to believe that whenever Luffy fights the big bad guy, he's going to kick their ass. This is the first time we've seen a Warlord of the Sea actually fight Luffy, and the skill difference and the power difference is clear as anything. Something very interesting also happened in this episode with Miss All Sunday, aka Robin, who actually came and saved Luffy as he was about to probably die, being like suffocated in the sandpit. She shows up and drags him out of it. And I don't know why she didn't give any sort of explanation. The only question she asked is, why do people like you fight? The people with the name of D. It's just insane how far Crocodile has gone, and like, his foresight is ridiculous. And that one significant moment of him shooting that bullet to stop shooting that cannonball to stop those two meeting each other could have just changed the fate of Alabasta completely. And that's what this was always about. It was about power and about acquiring this weapon. And yeah, we finally know why he's doing what he's doing. We already knew this, but Crocodile is just an insanely power-hungry person. Like, I imagine a lot of the Warlords of the Sea are, or a lot of people are in general. Just he has the power to sort of, you know, capitalize on this thirst, pretty much. Zoro is so goddamn cool, man. This is going to be such a surface level review because I just want to talk about how awesome Zoro is. He's got to be the coolest character in One Piece, like, easily, man. This dude is just so sick. I want to be like Zoro when I grow up. So, do you know what I mean? From start to finish, this was one of the most intense One Piece episodes that I've seen so far, and that ending, wow. This whole episode took place in front of the palace where Crocodile is, Cobra, Vivi, Chaka, and it just had so many moments where I was on the edge of my seat. And bro, the thump in my chest when I saw that, I couldn't believe it. And the gut-wrenching scream from Vivi, Jesus Christ. I mean, I'm watching the Japanese dub, the sub, I should say, and her voice actress, Jesus Christ, she killed that scream, because that sent shivers down my spine, genuinely. Like, I've got goosebumps, man. This episode was so good. Luffy finally returned to Alabasta after his crushing defeat to Crocodile, and he punched him square in the jaw. And, oh, mate, it was so satisfying. Just seeing Crocodile actually crumble a little bit, you know. Up to this point, he's essentially been flawless. He's never been hurt. His plan has basically always gone exactly how he wanted it to go. And Luffy finally managed to actually punch this guy in the face, and you could see Crocodile is really fuming. Luffy has a way of just getting under their skin and making it so that sort of facade of cool and like calmness and just pure evil sort of crumbles a little bit. And Crocodile and Nico Robin have turned on each other, and Crocodile has stabbed Nico Robin in the back. I don't know how in the world she would have survived that, but I don't know. We'll have to see. Regardless, I feel like we're closing in on the final moments of Alabasta potentially soon. You know, everything's coming to a head. Luffy's going to fight Crocodile one more time, I assume. The bomb's nearly going to go off in Alabasta, and this is like the last bit of last chance they have of saving the kingdom of Alabasta. So it's getting very intense now. He's using his blood in order to be able to hit Crocodile, because blood thickens sand the same as water, and I think that's absolutely genius. And it's also quite indicative of like the battle scars that he's gone through while fighting Crocodile, because this has been his most difficult villain to fight so far. I mean, by far. That's the one thing with One Piece, like, it just gets you out of nowhere. It feels like there's like a story going, and then there's all of a sudden you're invested massively into this character you didn't really even know that much about, and then it's taken, your heart gets ripped out. Like, it's One Piece does that so well, and it does it with so many different characters. It's not even necessarily the main characters or the side characters. It can be characters you've never met before, but in one episode it can get you massively invested and then just completely destroy you. And that's what happened in this episode. To me, this was one of the most well-executed and cathartic anime beatdowns I've ever seen in my life. Like, Luffy destroying Crocodile towards the end of this fight in this episode was so insanely satisfying after everything that Crocodile's put everybody through in Alabasta, Vivi specifically, and, you know, just the citizens of Alabasta in general. This dude has absolutely tormented this country, and he's brought it to civil war, made it destroy itself nearly from inside itself. He's caused so much harm for so many people, and seeing Luffy finally land that insane punch at the end and knocking Crocodile out cold completely was just, like I said, so cathartic and so satisfying and well worth the wait. Vivi's voice finally breaks through to the Rebel and the Royal Army about fighting. Please stop fighting. Crocodile's body falls to the floor and everybody sees him like as this mess just as the rain starts falling. Crocodile finally getting what was coming to him. So well executed and so well done. This episode was fantastic. This whole arc has been incredible, and this was my favorite fight ever. I know I keep saying that, but it was my favorite fight in One Piece for sure. Maybe one of my favorite anime fights. Like I said, this really was the episode I was waiting for. It was so cathartic to see all of this happen, to see the rain falling and all the citizens finally happy, stop fighting, Crocodile taken down, just everything sort of coming into place. It was a really beautiful episode. This arc has been fantastic from start to finish. In this episode, we see the aftermath of the war in Alabasta and the personal struggle that Vivi is having with the fact that the Straw Hats are now leaving her friends, these people that she's become really close to after their adventures and saving her kingdom. This was an incredibly beautiful and well-written send-off to the Alabasta arc. I've adored this arc. I think it's been absolutely incredible. I've loved every single episode. I've loved the build-up to Crocodile's reveal. I've loved the fight between the two armies and the struggle we saw with the citizens of Alabasta. I love Vivi's journey to saving the kingdom itself and her relationship with the Straw Hats. Everything about this arc has been fantastic, from its characters to its themes to its villains to its heroes. Everything about it has been brilliant and I've enjoyed every second. And this episode was the perfect send-off. One Piece is the absolute king of these small, intimate, like tearjerker moments. Like, they easily could have just had the Straw Hats shout to her saying that we'll be friends or whatever, but just that small gesture with the X on their arms I thought was so much better than them just saying it. Nico Robin has officially joined the Straw Hat Pirates. Now, out of everybody in Alabasta, she would have been the person I would have put my money on the least in joining Luffy's crew. I just didn't see it coming at all, besides maybe Crocodile, obviously. But I would have expected Toto to join the Straw Hats before she did. But yeah, Nico Robin is now part of the Straw Hat Pirates. I could not have predicted that in a million years, but I'm very excited to see where it goes.
I mean, what else can I say about this arc? Alabasta is absolutely fantastic. To me, it's still one of the best arcs in One Piece in general, just from everything I've seen so far. I'm at episode 420 at the moment. I've just finished the Sabaody arc, but the Alabasta arc still sticks out in my mind. Crocodile, to me, is one of the absolute greatest villains in One Piece history. His story is fantastic. His manipulation, he's such a cruel bastard, but he's so cunning and so clever. His whole story with Alabasta and how he manipulated the kingdom into destroying itself pretty much, I thought was absolutely genius. His demeanor, all of that sort of stuff. I thought the story with Vivi was really gut-wrenching, and her just trying to save her kingdom and the absolute struggle she went through. And of course, the fight between Luffy and Crocodile was very satisfying. The first one was really unexpected, what happened to Luffy, and then when he finally did defeat him in the end, it was just the most cathartic and satisfying thing in the world. And we got introduced to Robin in this arc as well. She joined the Straw Hats, which was a bonus because Robin's fantastic as well, and she had one of the best stories later on. But regardless, Alabasta was, to me, probably the best arc out of these lot. This and Drum Island are amazing. Alabasta's obviously a lot bigger than Drum Island, but those two arcs are absolutely brilliant. I think this was a great introduction to the Grand Line, and I believe he was the first warlord we saw as well. So, but yeah, Alabasta is fantastic, 10 out of 10. But yeah, that was it. Those are my thoughts on that Alabasta Saga. I thought it was a great introduction to the Grand Line, to both the Straw Hats and to us. If you want to see all of my individual reactions to every single episode, I've left a playlist in the description below because I have reacted to every single episode I've watched of One Piece so far. So if you want more in-depth thoughts on individual moments or episodes or characters, you'll be able to find it there. But next, I will be doing the same for the Skypiea arc, so that should be a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, I think. And I'll see you in a bit. Peace.